Recently, for those of you who are very active on the internet, they would have seen that Tate brothers have been allowed into the United States. Okay, and since they are allowed into the United States, they went on this podcast that goes by the name of PBD, that is Patrick Bet David. Okay, now, I'm not promoting his show or whatever, but you should watch that podcast, and that will awaken you to certain realities that are surrounded that are in our surroundings, but we do not heed, or we are not conscious to them. Why? Because we have been educated into these flimsy ideals of liberalism, secularism, tolerance, and whatnot. Okay, in that podcast, Andrew Tate says that white people are the only people who are not allowed to love their countries. Okay, who are not allowed to make a nation out of themselves. Okay, it's available on the internet. He also goes on to say that only people who aren't allowed to love their country and love themselves are white people. White people are being replaced in their countries in real time. We can talk about why that is happening, but it is obviously happening. Okay, so the same goes for pagans of Bharat as well. Replace white people with pagan people of Bharat, and everything goes for the same. I'll just read it out for you to understand. The only people who aren't allowed to love their country and love themselves are the pagan people of Bharat. Pagan people are being replaced in their own country in real time. We can talk about why that is happening, but it is obviously happening. Okay, nobody wants to talk about this. Why? Because certain communities get offended if you talk about these things. Okay, so this whole idea, okay, sticking to the principles of liberalism, secularism, this whole point, we were doing it because we were living under this mindset that the West will only accept us. By the way, that in itself is a manifestation of colonization of our minds. But putting that aside, we were living under this idea that if we live by these ideals of liberalism, secularism, and tolerance, we would gain validation and acceptance from the West. But they themselves are done and almost they are done with these ideas of liberalism and secularism and tolerance. They want nations exclusively to themselves. Okay, but in our country, if you talk about these things, you will straight away be labeled as a communal bigot, as hate mongerer and whatnot. People need to educate themselves about these ideologies and what exactly do these things mean. Okay.